Hey guys, it's Josh here, back with a new video, and today we're going to be designing an Audi DTM front plate. Firstly, we're going to go up to Insert on the top toolbar and we're going to find our reference image. Preferably this image is as straight on as it can possibly be, as this will give you the best chance of replicating your wheel perfectly. Once we've inserted it, we'll select the plane we want it to insert onto, which is the orange square as you saw, then we're going to scale it up. This doesn't have to be precise, this is just to make it a bit easier to calibrate later. Once we've done that, we're then going to align the white dot, which is our origin point, with the very middle of the wheel, as you can see me doing just here. Once that's all aligned, we're going to go onto the left hand side, right click on the canvas, and we're going to press on calibrate. This is going to bring up the cursor that you see in front of you here. What we need to do is select the two outermost points of the wheel, and this will then pop up with a box in which you can insert the length of which you want this to be across. In our case, that's 300 millimeters. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create a circle. So you start a sketch, select the circle tool and take this out to 70 millimeters. This is going to be our PCD, or pitch circle diameter, which we create the bolt pattern on. We're now going to create 6 5mm holes. We're just going to use the circular pattern tool for this. As you see, I'm going to put in 9 here because I'm an idiot, but yeah, here's the 6 just here. Then we're going to finish that sketch, and then we are going to extrude them through the plate. And now what I'm going to do is, which is a really important step, is I'm going to name my sketches with a basic description of what the sketch is. This is going to come in useful later on if you ever need to edit a part of your design, because you can just go onto the sketches and you can then see exactly what the sketch is at a glance without having to filter through and look at each one individually. So that's a really helpful practice to get into, especially for beginners. And now guys, we're going to make the holes for all the buttons. So I'm going to start a new sketch as I did previously. We're going to go onto the circle tool, and we're just going to hover onto the buttons. We're going to make a 12mm in diameter hole because that's the buttons I'm going to use. Then I'm just going to drag this using the center kind of point of the circle into the rough position of what I want it to be. I'm going to do this multiple times for all of the different buttons, and then I'm going to then flip this and mirror it onto the other side. I'm not going to go on to do the other buttons because I want it to be exactly symmetrical. I then realised that the canvas isn't quite right, it's leaning to the left a tiny bit, so I'm just going to go back on to the calibrate, and I'm just going to rotate that a little bit so it's nice and horizontally level. And then now that is level, we're going to move on to the next stage. So now I'm just going to reposition the buttons, as you can see me doing here. This is sped up a tiny bit just to make it a bit of a shorter video, but yeah, I'm just going to reposition all the buttons as you can see here. Right, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to try and get the basic shape of the wheel. So this is the main front plate outline of it, so I've just used an arc here to get the rough kind of line of this edge of the grip. So I'm going to use a combination of arcs and control point splines to do this. The control point splines are really good, as you're going to see later on, because as the name suggests, they have control points which you can drag about to move where the line is. So you don't have to be like really accurate at first, you can be quite rough, and then you can drag these points to make the lines really fit the shape that you want it to get. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed this bit up now, and then I'll come back when we get onto the control point splines and I'll explain how I use them a bit more. So I'm about to use the control point splines here to finish off the rest of the front plate. As you can see, I do use lots of little points around the shape, as obviously the more control points you have, the more customized you can make the shape of the front plate. And I only go to the y-axis line here because I'm then going to flip and mirror all of this on the y-axis across. So just as I'm doing here, I'm dragging these little control points so that to make the line really line up with the front plate. So I'm just going to move on here and use a mixture of normal arcs and control point splines to make this hole for the grip. So you can just see here it's the same process. I could even be using smaller points here, and I think that, yeah, that is what I do here. I now start to use slightly smaller points so I have a bit more customization. As you can see around this tight little bit, I start to click more to make it more customizable. Then I just link that up there. Now I'm just going to go along here and drag these points over to make the shape how I want it. And then just going to round off this bottom part of the front plate here, and then we'll move on to mirroring it across to the other side. So now what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to select the whole sketch. So if you just left click and drag across, I'm just going to deselect a point here that I don't want to mirror across. Then we're going to go up into create and the mirror tool. We're just going to select this line here that I've made and then flip it across and confirm it. So now if you turn off the canvas, you can see here it's flipped across perfectly. I'm really happy with this final shape that we've ended up. So I'm now just going to extrude it out to a length of 3mm after I rename the sketch here. As I said before, that's one of the most important things you can do, is to name your sketches, because now if I don't like the positions of the buttons after I prototype this, I can just find this sketch really easily in the manager and I can change that just like that. And as you see here, I'm just going to extrude out to 3mm. The final thing we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to extrude the mounting holes. So as you can see here, I've turned on the visibility for that sketch. I then pressed on extrude. We're just going to select every single one of these holes, and then we're going to drag through the front plate itself, just like that. You can tell it's on cut because the image goes to red, and we're just going to OK that. Now, as you can see, that front plate is now complete. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video in the schedule is going to be the custom paddle shifters for this wheel, so if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you subscribe down below, and thank you guys for watching. I'll hopefully see you next time.